Navigator, a deeper dive into the Toastmasters program. She's going to be talking about the dashboard, so it sounds like technology to me, not the dashboard of your car, right? That's we're talking dashboard. Gives you details about what Toastmasters is all about. Julie will focus on some of the key points of the Navigator as well as the Pathways program. Please help me welcome Julie Spalding.
Good morning. This will be fun. We don't get to do this in real estate. I don't have to get a clicker, so this is awesome. This brings me back to my teaching days where we didn't have this when I was teaching. Okay, the Navigator. What's interesting about going through this program and kind of getting ready for this speech is you know how you learn as you go. So my first belief was that the Navigator was going to dig deep into Pathways and tell me all about Pathways. Well, after I was literally halfway through, I realized that actually the Navigator is just about Toastmasters in general, and Pathways is a portion of that. So if you're brand new coming into the club, this is probably, and maybe Gail can tell me that, this is probably where they start you out. So this is a great, did you notice that at all? Have you gotten in there?
I've gotten in there and done my assessment and some other, but I've got more to do.
Okay. This is a great way to start. This is almost kind of the 30,000 view of Toastmasters in general, and then it kind of brings it down a little bit. So the Navigator is, I will talk about just in general. Most of it we already know, and then I'll go into Pathways a little bit. So when you get kind of onto your dashboard, this is what mine looked like when I first logged in. Honestly, I kind of went back and it felt like it looked a little different. So we are kind of all learning this on our own. I'm going to use the screen button here. But this is where you launch, anyway, you launch the Navigator there, where that yellow arrow is. And these are the items that Kim talked about at the end of her speech, navigating Basecamp, and that's what Lou's going to go through. My badges, I think that's what John's going to go through. The Navigator's down here. And so you just launch that. You will have to probably download some macros. For those of you who probably know a lot more about that than I do. This is kind of the home page for Navigator. This menu is going to be your way through the Navigator. So it will automatically progress you through. That's not the right word. It will automatically take you through the entire Navigator. But if you want to skip around, that's where you do that. Oh, look, I had a transition there. Look at that. I couldn't figure out how to do it on the other side. But okay, so Welcome to Toastmasters is the first part of this menu when you drop down. As you can see, it's a very good beginning for those of you who are brand new into Toastmasters, or you just kind of want an overview. It gives you a little bit of history of Toastmasters, gives you some of the benefits of being a Toastmaster, and also gives you some personal stories in there of different people and how they have benefited from being in Toastmasters. It also goes into meeting structure, so it will tell you how our meetings are structured, which talks about the different roles then as well. Very similar to how we do it. We add a couple extra roles in there. We have a pointer and some other things that other clubs don't have, partly because we're a pretty large club compared to a lot of other ones. So then it goes into your executive committee, scheduling a speech. That one is a little bit different. We have a schedule that we email out. So as far as scheduling a speech, if you're brand new, you want to talk to one of your mentors and go from there. Coping with nervousness, I thought that was an interesting thing. It didn't seem to go right in there, but there's a lot of good information in there. The next part, what we're really going to focus on today, is Toastmaster Pathways. How it works, how to select your Basecamp and printed materials, kind of like Kim talked about, and then also just, I don't really have anything on there as far as start your journey, but you just get started. So, if you go into how it works, Pathways is made up of paths and levels. So each path is like your own competent communication manual. It's like a manual, basically. A path is very rich and very deep, and within the paths there are different levels. There are 5 different levels. There are 10 paths, and that's what these little icons are here on the bottom. And as you hover over those, you can see what those different paths what they're about. And as you kind of so when you get into there, it will let you take an assessment, and they're going to suggest a path based on your answers that you give them. You do not have to stick with that path if you don't want to. I think it would have been helpful to kind of know what these paths were ahead of time. And so if you go through the navigator, it will tell you that. And then also we'll make sure to give you, there's a kind of a sheet that gives you a description. We'll email out this to you so you know ahead of time what those different 10 paths are. I trust that they're all very good. So this is what I found interesting. This describes the path. So after you take your assessments, you can work on the path recommended to you, or like I said, choose a different path. No matter which one you choose, you will complete 4 educational projects and present a minimum of 15 prepared speeches and serve in various meeting roles. So within each path, there's 14 projects, 15 speeches, and meeting roles. So what they are doing is kind of combining this book with the CC manual, okay? So you don't have 2 separate books and 2 ways of doing that. You're combining them together and putting it into a path. So here are the paths. Within each path are 5 levels, okay? So, and each one brings up those. So this is number 3. Again, you hover over them and the navigator tells you about them. It says, be increasing your knowledge of specific skills to your path. You'll complete 1 required project and at least 2 elective projects. So they're trying to allow you to cater this program to what you're working on, maybe at work or in your personal life, those types of things. So they give you a specific project, and then you get to select a couple of your choice or your electives. I don't know exactly what those look like because I haven't gotten that far into it. But the word elective is nice, not new fancy. And then also that's where you add in some of your things. So in the yellow, maybe you can't see, it says number of projects, 1 required, plus a minimum of 2 electives, plus serve as table topics master, Toastmaster, and evaluator at the end of level 3. Pretty basic. So that, so you'll cycle through, it helps you to cycle through all the different jobs as well. Okay, so that was basically how it works back there. You have the paths and you have the levels. This is a little bit about what Kim touched on as far as Basecamp versus printed materials. They are going to encourage you pretty strongly to use the Basecamp. They've added a lot of benefits in there as far as additional videos. They have printed certificates, badges, resources, all kinds of things. And they're going to, there's actually several pages in the Navigator that says, use Basecamp. But you can access it from your phone, you can access it from a computer or tablet, any of that kind of stuff. Now this is and we reserve the right to change our mind about how we think this works, because as we get into it, I think we're going to learn a little bit. My impression is that you get Basecamp and your first path free. That's included. If you choose to select another path, there's a fee for that. I believe if you do it digitally, it's $20 or $25, and then if you want to do it with the printed material, it's more like $40 or $50. So it's just like getting a new manual. When you choose a new manual, there's a fee for that currently how you do it. So now we could be wrong about that, but we're learning as we go, just like you guys. Because as we get in, then you kind of figure it out. The rest of the menu talks about recognizing your achievements. John is going to discuss that a little bit. The evaluation portion, again, we reserve the right to not know how exactly that's going to look. We're going to start out and have speakers print their information and bring that into the meeting and give that to the evaluators. That may change over time as we get going and we evolve in this process. Again, it has a full section on evaluating. That's one of our strongest points as a club. And then the last 2 features just talk about enriching your experience. And then here's a great thing. It has the Navigator PDF, which I think is great. It has all this if you want to print that out, or at least you want it maybe kind of in one spot. That's a really great thing. And then frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions here are the entire, all of Toastmasters. So not just Pathways, but all of Toastmasters. So a great place if you have any questions about Toastmasters in general. Okay, I believe. Oh, yep, see, there's the black screen.
That's great.
All right.